Hello and welcome back to KAFTAN Television, and for those of you who are just joining us, this is Daybreak Africa, and our topic for discussion today is the INEC'S need for 126 billion naira in 2025. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, has requested a substantial increase in the commission's budget for 2025, seeking 126 billion naira. He explained that the 40 billion naira allocated in 2024 was insufficient to cover personnel costs and essential activities, forcing INEC to shelve key projects such as continuous voters registration and voter redistribution. Yakubu highlighted the need for funding to conduct off-circle elections, replace damaged election materials, and support the upcoming 2025 elections. He also proposed sustainable funding mechanisms, including allocating a portion of the federal account to electoral activities, and called for legislative reforms to reduce the cost of by-elections. And joining us for this discussion is a public affairs analyst, Mr. Akinniran.
Yeah, it's actually great to have you on this set auditions.
It's been player.
No, it's great.
Find out for long.
We're find it actually.
It's one of those things.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
That shows that my name is a bit controversial.
Yeah, very controversial name. That's why I brought it for such a very controversial.
I'm taking it up anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm Akinniran, so.
It's nice to have you here, sir.
Thank you.
So finally, we're having INEC on a ruse talking about the fact that they are rejecting 40 billion naira for the budget. They are saying they want 126 billion this time around, and this time around, 126 billion. They claim that, for personnel funding to other projects. They are also taking into consideration the fact that inflation has gone very high, new minimum wage and all that. Now, from your own, I know that many Nigerians made a lot of comments on it. For the past week, I've been seeing different views. But from your own take, when you first saw the fact that INEC rejects 40 billion, wants 126 billion, what was your own personal perception towards this?
Thank you very much, and I want to say good morning, viewers at home. Personally, I want to believe that there's no time corruption will leave Nigeria if things continue this way. And at the same time, I have a second look. By the statement of the chairman, Mahmood Yakubu, saying they have over 10,000 workers. I want to place every worker on 70,000 naira. If a worker is receiving 70,000, let us put it at that average. 70,000 times 10,000, that's 7 billion. 7 billion in 12 places.
Wow.
That's answer our question.
Yes.
The question,
7 billion times 12.
that's about 84 billion. Take that one away from the salary. That's a salary for the whole year. Take that one out of the water. How would they go with other implementations? And that reminds me, as of last year when they conducted 2 states, as a governorship election in 2 states, they sought intervention, about 10.5 billion from the federal government. That shows that I don't know how to say that, who dictates the piper dictates the tone.
Who pays the piper will definitely
who pays the piper dictates the tone. So why won't the government be favored? Because they are the one financing. And don't forget, they said INEC, Independent National Electoral Commission. Are they truly independent? If truly they want to be independent, they must not be answerable to anybody. Today, if this fund is not enough, they need to seek for intervention. From who?
Federal government.
Federal government. Who is in power? So that means the influence will always be there. But if truly we want INEC to be truly independent, we must allow them to enjoy their autonomy. It's only that if they too must be sincere with everything they present before the house. And I don't want to put all these my comments in a basket, but I need to say this, that we need to allow INEC to be independent.
But,
So,
you can go ahead.
What if this request of INEC is not fully met? What do you think will happen?
Then the usual will continue to happen. The influence, because they will always seek for more fund. And when they seek for more fund, someone will give it to them. So for them to be loyal to where the money is given is inevitable. And this is why we need to let them be autonomous in their duties. If truly we want them to do their job without any interference, we need to satisfy their wants and their needs too. And if this your question is to be answered, I will tell you that the status quo will remain. That is to say, they will continue to influence the decision of INEC. Simple.
But looking at them influencing the decision of INEC, I want to go back a bit to the budget first, because you talked about the fact that INEC will have over 10,000 personnel working with them.
That's a fact.
And at least they're going to pay them minimum wage. And if they are to pay minimum wage in 1 month for 10,000 people, 70,000 is the minimum wage. That is, we are talking about 7 billion
in a month. That's if all of them are level 1 officers.
Level 1 officers.
And don't forget,
we know that they have high level officers.
They have political appointees among them.
Yeah, professors of universities and all that. But then I know that those 10,000 personalities don't work with them all through the month. Many times it's just maybe ad hoc staffs, work during when they have urgent works to do, like, because we know when it's election period, the trainings costs and all those kind of things, it's not all the time they spend that amount of money. Don't you think that the budget in itself has a bit of excess too, if we have to look at those factors attached to it? Because how many elections do we have this year? Okay, if it was a presidential period, we know, yes, that year 126 billion is going to go for it. But 2025 doesn't have as much electoral activities as 2024, 2023, or maybe looking forward to 2026, 2027. So why do you think in a year that we are having less electoral activities, not as much as the other years, that amount of money, don't you think is, to an extent too, is exceedingly much?
To me, I did not see it to be too much, not talk of exceedingly much. And I will tell you why.
Okay.
As if we are to go by their programs, as far as 2025 is concerned, they have only about 21 by-elections across the country to start with. Don't forget that this same year, another governorship election we hold.
Yeah, definitely.
That's another one. And they have to prepare for other factors. They even mentioned that they want to rehabilitate, they want to renovate, they want to ensure the construction of facilities as regards their offices. So put this source into consideration against 2027 in another 2 years. You know that you don't prepare the very moment you want it to be done. You prepare ahead. And that's what they are doing. If they come with 126 billion naira today, and we see reason for the 126 billion naira, definitely if we give them, they will not come back. And if they come back, we will tell them then something is switching. Like I said, there's no way you can help it. In Nigeria today, corruption is our second name. Everywhere you go to, you cannot do without being corrupted or having corrupt individuals working in a sensitive, or let me call virtually every institution in Nigeria. So this to tell you that we are not getting it right in the area of corruption. Put that one aside. Let us answer these questions legitimately. They have come up. Before they come up, they know they are going to defend it. So they have come to present what they can defend, and they have defended it well. Why can't we just allow them to have their way? If at all we cannot give them the 126 billion naira requested, give them 100 billion or 120 or 110, if more. The only thing we can only say is this: if they are coming for appropriation for that budget, it is then we ask them questions. But if truly we want INEC to be dependent, we must allow them to do things in their own way. Put all their projects together, one. Put all their monthly remunerations together, second, and other contingencies. You will agree with me that the 126 billion they requested for is not too much from what is happening in Nigeria today. Don't forget, last year they were given 40 billion. After the 40 billion, they sought for 10.5 billion intervention, another 500 million intervention. Put together is about 50 billion. And that time, the minimum wage had not come. Things have not been too expensive as it is today. By the time you put all these things together, giving them times 2 is not too much, because everything in today is multiplied by 2 compared to what we bought last year. Even last year, when we were complaining, we still bought fuel for 500. Today, the minimum fuel you can buy is
1,000.
1,000.
Yeah.
That's times two. That's the only commodity that that all of us are associated with. And every other thing, go to your food consumption. Go to your food, raw food you buy. Whatever you buy 1,000 as a yearly last year, by late last year is already times 2. And by this year, nothing has changed. So going by the present factors in Nigeria, you will agree with me that everything has gone escalated, like you have mentioned the other time. So I will suggest that if truly we want our INEC to be independent, as their name implies, we must try to give them what they want, if not in total, at least above average. I submit.
Okay. With over 440 BVA's machine and other materials lost due to attacks, what does this say about the security of election infrastructure, and how should the government address these vulnerabilities moving forward?
Very funny. The question you asked, the first question is this: who stole these machines? Do they come from abroad or Nigerians? Like Yoruba we say, Omota Obako Loman. By implication means that any child you didn't train will certainly destroy good things you have behind. So because Nigerians are not safe, the Nigerians are not secured, the Nigerians are not too comfortable with things around us, that is why we resolve to destroying things, resolve to stealing things. First of all, before you can say how can we stop or what is my take in that, we must address the issue of security. Is Nigeria secured? That's the first question. If not, what can we do to make Nigeria secure? Very simple. When you engage your youths legitimately on good things, certainly you have solved half of the problems. You can now see a man of 70, 60, 80, 90 to involve in such acts. Only the youths are in that category.
Have the capacity to destroy things, to manhandle things. Only the youths. Engage the youths. Let them be responsible. If youths are responsible today, at least 70 to 80% of them will influence the remaining 20 or 30 by implication. Because I'm a father. I know how I relate with among my kids. I ensure there's competition. When A is doing well, I appreciate you. So that tomorrow when B is doing well, I will also do the same thing. So all of them we want to do it because they want daddy to appreciate their good things. If it is applied in Nigeria today, I can assure you all the youths, except infinitesimal number of them, will involve themselves in unruly behavior, and they can easily be handled. Once they are minute, the security officers can easily handle them. But when there are many, the security men will not be able to do anything. That's by the way. Now going to our beavers being stolen, being vandalized, being call it any name. Is it properly taken care of when they did that? The answer is no. Is the election going well with the people that made them to destroy the beavers? The answer is no. Whatever you know that can cause our beavers to be disrupted, try to avoid it. No to election malpractices. No to election violence. No to vote buying, because it's not the vogue. It's not the issue Nigeria is trying to battle with. And who is buying votes? The power that will buy the vote from both sides, either the opposition or the ruling. The power that always influence people. And when you influence people, when you know that you are being cheated, you can go extra mile to address or readdress you're being cheated. And that's why they engage themselves in this insecure and on this let me call it violent attitude during elections. So for us to secure our beavers, we must ensure we have good preparation and adequate execution of electioneering from day one to the end, to the last day. I remember a few years ago when someone said if you didn't win, blood will flow. Eventually he won and blood did not flow, because someone said I can never allow Nigerians blood to flow because I want to win election, and he handed over. Lo and behold, we knew the 8 years of that person, how it was in Nigeria, and we are still in it today. What I'm saying is this: when you want to allow peace to reign, you must be a peaceful person. You must give peace a chance. So when you give peace a chance, there's no one that will try to go against your wish. But when you say you want to get it at all costs, anything can follow.
The last election in Rivers State, we knew what happened. We know numbers of lives that were lost. Why? Because it was a do or die affair. So if you want your beavers to be secured, you ensure you do the needed things. And I love the INEC for one thing. They have educated, they have trained their workers. That if anytime violence is coming, just pack your things, leave the place, let them do whatever they want to do with the materials. And let me tell you one thing. Even from the beavers that were destroyed, because they were all insured, they have collected some stipends from the destroyed beavers. That's a plus Nigeria, because we insure them. And I want to say kudos to INEC on that. That's on it.
But now looking at it over the years, INEC, many of the factors they put up in their budget are things they've been running for over the years. People came out to talk about, okay, you're making upgrades on this, you are doing trainings on that, you're doing this on that. You talked about the fact that there are by-elections within the country this particular year and all those things. Now, there are some of these spendings that people looked at it and said, this shouldn't, if you have spent heavy on it before, any other spending you're supposed to make on it shouldn't even be as much as you spent earlier. It should not be that expensive anymore. It should just be on the mild level. And over time, many people have been talking about the effectiveness of the money spent and the fact that at the end of the election, you still see glitches. Let's look at the issue of the IREV, especially IREV, Beavers, IREV. During the elections, the presidential elections, even some governorship elections we had last year, we still saw that many of it malfunctioned. Some of them malfunctioned across the country. Some of the results weren't even passed straight to the IREV so that people can even monitor the results as time goes by. Whereas INEC, in their budget and according to their assurances, stated that they were going to ensure that at least it could be monitored and followed easily and all those kind of things. And yet there were lots of glitches. We all know how the presidential elections went. We know how some governorship elections went, despite the heavy amount of money being invested in INEC. Now, I think that is the main reason why people have not really trusted that system, and the backlash has been coming over. Now, coming to that place now, and now INEC talking about a new amount of money to be attached to their budgets, so that they can be able to still do some of these things they've done before, like even down to voter education that they are talking about, addressing personnel and all that. People have come out to talk about the fact that the last one we gave you, this did not still work out well. The last one we gave you, we still experience glitches. We still, for the last 4 years in Nigeria, we've not had as much electoral court cases like we had in the Nigerian system. Whereas INEC is spending a lot of money, INEC is collecting a lot of funds. From your end, don't you think people's fears, people's opinions are justifiable looking at some of the glitches, some of the inefficiencies of INEC in the past few years, especially looking at the fact that they got some money for many of these things in the initials?
Thank you very much for the analysis. And I will tell you straight away, as far as election is concerned in Nigeria, we are yet to get there. And our umpire is not helping us yet. I want to cite 2 examples or 2 cases: the presidential and the last Edo State election. IREV was working to an extent to start to a certain level. It got a stage, it stopped. As a matter of fact, what was read eventually was not in the IREV. That shows that there is discrepancy. And for how long are we going to continue doing this? The same thing happened during presidential election, when we were monitoring, everybody was monitoring it through the IRF. It got to a stage, nothing forthcoming again. And that's why I said we are yet to get there as far as elections concerned in Nigeria. And our umpire is not helping us. But I believe if we begin to give them free hand to operate, I want to know what will be the excuse. It's because there are insufficiencies. That was why we had issues. Like I said earlier, that at the Edo State election, it was said that they sought 10.5 billion for Ondo State and Edo State election. Let us divide into 2. That's a 5.250 billion. If someone gave you 5.25 billion for an election, tell me why you will not try to at least give such a person a kind of advantage. Because I want to believe, if you want the INEC to be free and fair in all their doings. You must give them free hand to operate. Then Nigerians can say, what is now your excuse? But today, the money is not enough, they sought for intervention, the money is not enough, they went this way, they went that way. Certainly, some people will influence them before they get what they want. That's our number one problem. We must avoid that. And only our National Assembly can help us to achieve that. If they ask for anything, give it to them. If truly they mean well for Nigeria. And if after giving to them, there's one thing I was expecting every Nigerian to do, and our government of workers to help. That's why we have 3 tiers of government. One to monitor the other, to checkmate the other. Are we checkmating? Are we maneuvering this INEC? That's the question. Take for instance, every year there is election, they will sort for ad hoc staff, and when they get the ad hoc staff to the eve of the election, they will engage some people before they disengage them. In the past, to everybody they disengage, they pay them stipend. Today, the reverse is the case. They don't pay them anything, but in their record, they must have said so people had been paid. But whereas the money will not be paid, because I have some, I don't want to call them victims. I have some people who are into such category that to the eve of the election, they were still in the training ground, and for the number of days they spent in the training, not even water was given to them. And this is not the INEC we used to know. Yeah. And these are the things. That's why I mentioned corruption. I am too sure Yakubu Mahmoud cannot come from Abuja to know what they are doing in those states, maybe at the local government or at the world level. It's not possible. And at the same time, sometimes they give fake and unfounded reports at the level, at the top, at the head of the INEC. Let me give you an instance. Yakubu Mahmoud said that in every word they have office.
Yeah.
Do they really have world office in words? The answer is no. I stand to be corrected. I am a practicing politician, and I know that in my ward there was no place like INEC office, and I can say that again and again in many words.
Same in my word, actually.
So where is the word that they have office? Let them mention it. That's to tell you that I am not saying they are lying, but I have not been able to establish the truth. I'm not saying they are lying, but I have not been able to establish what they said. And I stand to be corrected. Put these ones into consideration. This is to tell you the kind of corruptions that goes on in every institution we have in Nigeria. Like I said the other time, that I want to give it to the police. Police are doing well, but does that mean they are saints? Likewise, INEC, they are doing like what they did in those states last election. It was free, fair, and credible. But does that mean everything was perfect? If everything was perfect, I'm too sure the opposition will not go to the court. Until our INEC begin to do things right, then we stop going to the court. So I want to believe that your analyst was right to say that they have not been doing well, and I'm saying it today. Our electoral empire has not been doing well, but we wish them to improve on what they are doing. And going by this budget they are advocating for, they said last year they were given 40 billion. This year they gave them another 40 billion. They wouldn't want it, that they want 126 billion. If you are collecting 126 billion, ensure you justify the money given to you. Because
the efficiencies of
because it is taxpayers' money, and their blood we have from you. Every Nigerian, anybody above 18 years working or not working pays this tax, and you cannot be playing games with their money. So please, they should up their games and do the right thing and allow fairness to be their watchword. Submit.
So if you're talking about the place of fairness being their watchword, and if I'm to pick some of the things you said, a major statement you made, which do you think should come first? Structural address, that is in the sense that let's work towards a structure that makes INEC more like the CBN, extremely independent, free from any kind of influence, maybe placed under the judiciary or something through electoral reforms. Then we can review their budgets again, so that next time we know, okay, this body is independent enough, then they can be efficient enough and trusted enough with some of the things they can be given. Or how do you see it generally? Because the way it seems, from the way it's looking, the more money they get, it's as if they tune more to, like you always say, who that pays the piper will definitely dictate the tune. Which do you think should come first? Budgeting or first a restructuring so that INEC can truly be independent, have his own kind of funding to a point that it doesn't have to be a burden on the federal government again like it is currently, because the federal government's table, from the way I'm looking at it, is very full with a lot of things. We are seeing issues of budget right now, which they are still looking for ways to get loans to fund some part of the budget, and all those kind of, even the budget hasn't even been passed by the National Assembly. So which do you think should come first for INEC'S?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that question. If you say they are restructuring or trying to do the right budget, not only in INEC, Nigeria as a country needs reform. It is when we reform ourselves as a nation, maybe we try to get another constitution for ourselves, not the military we are using that we are trying to amend every day. Not that one. Let us sit down. Let us have our own ways of life. That come, like the Bible said, come, let us reason together. Let Nigerians call themselves. Come, let us reason together. If you want to live together as a one Nigerian, let us identify our wants, our does, and our don'ts. When we do that, by putting them in a kind of law, that one will guide every other thing we do, including INEC. Today we know that president will singularly pick someone to be the INEC chairman. That's a fact. You don't deny it. But is it good that is it justified that the president should be selecting who will be the umpire in his case? This is the question we need to ask ourselves. Now, going to the budget, if the budget was right or wrong, who knows? Whether they would present what he's going to do, what they're going to do or not, who knows? But that's why I said they must have a check, a kind of monitoring team, either from the judiciary or from the legislator, to come together and monitor the activities of the INEC. When they do that, then we are safe because everything you want to do, what is budget? It's just all your finances for a whole year, how you are going to get the money and how you are going to spend it. You put it there, we put them down, and you begin to work towards it. Whether you are going to get it through allocation or through fundraising, just mention it, it will be stated. So from there will be a team to monitor that. Okay, in January, these are the things they intended to do. Have they done it? Yes, no, we are left, this and that. Once these ones are there, and I want to call it my feedback, monthly feedback. In January, this is what INEC said they want to do, and they have done this, they have done this, remain this. We hope they will do this. Maybe it's going to be carried over to the next month. When these ones are done, our problems will be half solved. But today, once they are given the budget until next year, we won't bother to know what they are doing, either by the legislator or by the judiciary. They left it for the executive, and the executive then on their own, they can do and undo. Nobody queries them. These are the issues we have in Nigeria. Before we can talk of INEC, let Nigerians come together and reform themselves. Let us restructure and re-identify ourselves so that we can know where we are going to. Today we are just doing things as it comes, and that's why someone will just wake up one day and no to fuel subsidy. That's why someone they come tomorrow, there will be subsidy. Just the next tomorrow there will be fire will be 300 naira. Tomorrow you meet it 1,000. Anybody just come and tell us something, and whether it is good for us or not, everybody takes it. How long are we going to do that? God bless some countries. You don't do this. Even the president cannot say anything without the consent, without the approval of certain institutions. Nigeria needs working institutions. When we have working or workable institutions, then our presidency, all the three arms, cannot stand on their feet and do the needful. As long as we don't have workable or working institutions, we are deceiving ourselves in Nigeria.
I think I actually like your view, actually, not just the structuring INEC or maybe working on the structural parts of INEC. Nigeria itself needs good structure and all, so please stay with us.
Okay, and welcome back from that short break. And still with us today is Akinsile Akinniran, a public affairs analyst. And we're still talking about the topic of the recent INEC budget. Yes, the increased budget.
Yeah, the increased budget actually 126 billion. And I remember you were talking about the fact that Nigeria needs to restructure aside from INEC just structuring themselves properly before we talk about budgets and all and everything. And we know that yes, we have by-elections this year, a lot of by-elections. We also have governorship elections coming up, and Anambra especially is preparing towards electing a new leader. Actually, maybe might still stick to the current leader and how. But then looking at it and over time, one of the major factors why the budget was hiked to that point, 126 billion, was because of the current inflation status of Nigeria. And I remember that if we look at the budget of Nigeria, the current national budget for Nigeria, one of the intentions of the federal government is to reduce inflation from 34% to 15%. Now, if inflation is to go from 34% to 15%, don't you, let me just ask now, unrelated, how realistic do you think that is from your own end?
Thank you very much. Before I go further, I want to ask you too. That was the present estimated budget for Nigeria in 2025.
49.7 trillion.
Perhaps you can tell me that of last year.
That was 30, 28, no, 30, I think that was in the range of 27 trillion, yeah.
2 trillion to 49. How does subtract?
Yeah, inflation,
and you want to reduce inflation. From that simple analysis shows that is a statement of mere saying. When you want to reduce inflation, you prepare for it and you work towards it. You can't be telling me you want to reduce inflation and what your budget estimation for a year was twice or the following year. It's not possible. Certainly you are encouraging inflation because something must have happened that made you to increase the budget by multiplication of 2. So you can't just tell me that a budget of 27 billion last year has risen to 49 billion this year and you want to reduce inflation. Very impossible. So the same thing applicable. If you can make your budget multiplying by 2, then every institution, every prestator, every component of government should have the shares. So if you are giving me 40 billion last year, getting 100 billion, 150 billion this time around should not be a problem because you have taken care of me. Because your budget had improved, had gone higher. So everything must go higher. And don't forget, not what you paid last year, you want to pay this year, and you want to reduce inflation. So let us be realistic. It's just a mere statement. And I want to say it, and I start to be corrected, that it is not possible for you to reduce inflation with your budget or you made for the year. It will not work. You can say it, but I can tell you it will not work. Simple as that. Now let's go back to the question of INEC. INEC has studied. As a matter of fact, they have done their own work. That if we present ×3 of the budget, perhaps they give us ×2. It's a general things we do in every way we find ourselves, even in ordinary organizations. They do it. That let me present my proposal. Perhaps they may reduce it, or they may, but they will certainly. We know that in Nigeria today, we always reduce everything we bring towards government, and when they reduce it, if they can make it ×2, I'm still okay, because I will still achieve what I want to achieve. Why? Because we always inflate everything we give to them, and that was why I always give it to the former president of Nigeria, by President Olusegun Obasanjo. He came up with due process. If you want to do anything, it must pass through due process. What is due process? If they are selling a commodity for 10 naira outside, you cannot come to Obasanjo and tell him you are buying your own 25 naira. It must be like at least 20% increment. Getting more than 20% will be trashed out. Why? Because it must go through due process. Since Obasanjo left, do we have due process in Nigeria again? The answer is no. And what does due process mean? That every commodity, everything you want to buy, must be in accordance with what is being sold at the market at that time. But today we don't do that. And we want Nigeria to progress. I want to beg us, that our government, if possible, let them reintroduce due process into our system. Perhaps it will reduce the way everything is being inflated. How will you tell me they sell a generator of apartment labor for 50,000 And I want to, because I'm a government requested that you supply 50. You not say you are buying yours 150,000 because it's government money, and you want to do some settlement. So we have to you have to put it in what you want to buy.
But can the settlement ever stop? Because many
the
times
question is it can stop only if you and I ready to stop it. If Nigerian is ready to stop this extortion or this settlement or this influence, they said the new Nigeria begins with you and I. New Nigeria must begin with all of us, and this is the only way we can do it, that from the top, like President Buhari said, from top to bottom. And from this time, the same thing applicable from top to bottom. Let us change Nigeria for good. Let us change Nigeria for good. Let us stop this influence, this puffing, this, I don't want to call it, I have so many names I can call it. You cannot change the rule of the game when the game is on, but we can start a new life with a new beginning. President Tinubu has come on board. He's trying to reform so many things. Let him introduce this due process as part of his reform, that we want things to be done in the right way. Not for a commodity to be sold for 10 naira and you tell me it's 100 naira, and government will approve 100 naira for you because they know the number of people that will shout of the remaining 90 naira. Things don't work that way. No nation will work with that system. We saw it. Go to the ministries if you want to take any contract now. Once you know how to watch hands, definitely you get it. If you don't know how to watch hands, you won't get it. They complain everywhere. Please, this is not the issue of INEC alone. If you are trying to correct INEC as Nigerians, we too, we must correct all the things that are not good in us. But INEC has come with their own budget, and we are trying to challenge them that the 126 billion was too extravagant, was too high, and they presented that this is what they want to do with their money. Though we have glitches, we have questions that they're supposed to answer on the same budget they presented. Like I said, they said they have office in wards, which I know did not exist in a ward. Let them tell Nigerians where is the office of INEC in each ward. And don't forget, in some local government, let me use Ondo State as a case study. In Ondo State, in Ondo West, where I am today, they have office in Ondo West. In Ondo East, they don't have office. They use a place in the local government. The local government collect rentage from them. If the answer is no, what are they doing in that? What do they want to do there? In every state, they have offices. In every state, they have office. In this office, what are they renovating? What are they changing that made them to spend this money? If they bring their budget, identify some errors there, then tell them we are removing this for lack of merit. We are removing this because it's inconsistent with the constitution. We are removing this because it's not in existence. When you remove all the removables, add and subtract, and give them the remaining, well, these are the duties of the National Assembly. But instead of them to do that, they will be looking for what to get and what not to get. May God help Nigeria. We must stop this mentality. Everybody is growing old every day. And don't forget that a day is coming, you will leave. And the ones that will coming behind you will tell you exactly what they know about you. Do you expect them to tell you, or your children, the good ones or the bad ones, they know you for? In Ondo State here, a commissioner resigned or removed from office, and they were shouting, "Hey, thief, thief, thief," to the commissioner. Has he done well? Another commissioner was leaving office in Nigeria here today, and the workers are crying. These are two people that we need to learn from. Whether we like it or not, the family of the man they were chanting a thief to, we always say, God, what has our son done to have warranted this? And the one that the people are crying over, we say, oh, we are proud of you as a good child. Do you want your family to be proud of you, or you want them to say we don't know you? And I want to beg our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, this is an opportunity for Nigeria, for Yoruba, to right the wrongs, and the ball is in his net to correct all the anomalies we have identified in Nigeria. He too has identified some. It is time for him to change and rewrite history, like Okibalo said, that time is not his friend. And I want to say, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, time is not your friend. Please do something so that when you leave, people can say you have done well and they can praise you for good things you have done. Likewise, you can do the same thing in INEC.
Yeah, the same thing in INEC actually. I like the fact you talked about time is not his friend. This is 2025 already. We all know 2020. We came in 2023. 2024 is gone. 2025 just started. This is the final year for anything governmental, because 2026 everybody knows that the politicking starts
immediately,
full blown and all that. It's still maybe 2027 again after the elections before we go back to administrative duties and all that. But then talking about the fact that make changes, make structures and all that, there is a particular matter still with the National Assembly still being discussed as a conversation across country, that INEC should also be in charge of local government elections, which used to be the way things were very early in the past, but now it's not the same system. Nowadays it's just within the states, independent tracks, hold those elections, even though we know many of the times most of the elections we experienced that has to do with local government elections in the past few years, it's always the ruling party in the states that takes all councils, all local governments. Now, the conversation is there. INEC just presented its budget. Now, if this is passed, there is a likely chance that INEC will have to increase their budget again, or maybe, request for more money at a time when money is not ready. But from your own perspective, let me get first things first. Do you think it's right for INEC to be in charge of the local government elections? Would it be much burden on the body that is already saddled with a lot of responsibilities?
Thank you very much for the brilliant question. In fairness, INEC should conduct every election in Nigeria, because their name implies Independent National Electoral Commission. Anything election must come under them. If they are conducting what in the past, even till today, when they are conducting election, what do? They get ad hoc staff, so they can as well do the same thing. If they have an election in the local government, they get ad hoc staff to do their job. But for states to come up with a kind of ODEC or mention their names is an aberration. I am 100% support that INEC should conduct every election in every local, even to the councillorship which they list in Nigeria today. Every election must be conducted by INEC if their provision is to be followed. I remembered during FEDECO, I was a bit young, but I can know exactly what they were doing. Because in 1979 then to 83 to 86, before 85 rather, when Barry came on board with overthrown Sheikh Shagari, we were calling them FEDECO. So FEDECO was in existence. They were the one conducting every election in Nigeria then. So it was when this manipulation came that is okay, allow the state to conduct. State can never give us best election. And point of correction, it is always the ruling party that always win major part of the election when it comes to the local government or locally prepared election. But reverse was the case in Rivers State. PDP was in power. I think one party won virtually all the elections.
No, we know vividly well that.
The truth of the matter is that PDP was in power, another party won all the elections. Yeah. That's the correct impression anyway.
No, we know vividly well actually that Rivers State was a different case, because even in PDP there was a battle, even in APC there was a battle. So
and another party now won aside the two either by arrangement, either by enemies. Another party won.
Okay, good.
Which has negated all the noises or anything we have to say about local government election in every state. In the past, the governor would determine who wins. But in River State, either by preparation, either by arrangement, either by crook, either by any way, another party outside ruling party and opposition party won the election. So it has negated all our thinking about elections and governorship in Nigeria. That's by the way. Now, as I was saying, I am 100% in support that INEC should come, get his own ad hoc staff, conduct local government election. Whoever wins, we win. By that time, every party will contest the way they used to do at the state level.
Yeah.
And because they know that a governor nominated someone to be the head of electoral committee, and he put all virtually the cohorts or colleagues to be part of the committee, what do you expect? Just like any election in Nigeria today that a governor is in charge, or perhaps selected someone to be in charge, what do you expect? Would that person go against the wish of the person that gave him assignment? The answer is no. But when INEC is involved, everybody will be involved because they know that it is a national election, not longer local election, because it's being conducted by the national body. So I am 100% in support that INEC should conduct election. Going by your question that wouldn't they increase their budget, let us be realistic. In their budget of 2025, it was not mentioned that any local government will conduct election. If by the way the panel being given to them or conferred on them to be conducting election, then there must be appropriation to that effect. And we now need to know what the appropriation will be, whether it was overestimated, underestimated, or averagely estimated. Someone like me, I can come and tell you, if you are conducting any election in any local government, this is what will cost you, multiplied by number of local governments you're having, you get your result. I submit.
Now, looking at it, let's talk a bit about funding now. Funding elections in Nigeria. Going forward, like you've majorly pointed out today that INEC's budget is justified to a very large extent, though they need to be independent enough, like independent like the name implies itself, that more like the CBN, more like even the FCC is not that independent, but more like the CBN, INEC too needs to have another separate body on their own, whereby they can fund themselves, budget themselves. More like, if we go by pre-colonial eras in Nigeria, more like Oyo, though currently it's kind of a bit not the way it used to be, but then we have the Oyo Mercy, who are in charge of electing the leaders, very independent body of their own, of the rulership of the kings and all that. In the same way, INEC should be such very independent, but we've seen INEC's counterparts across countries where their funding is not totally from the federal government. Now, from your own perspective, how do you think, what other means do you think INEC as a body can be funded that is going to reduce totally the influence of political bigwigs within the country and all? How do you think it's best for INEC itself to be funded so they can have their own personal kind of influence? We can be very certain of the fact that anything they bring out is bereft of anybody's influence from anywhere.
Thank you very much. The best way they can do that is for them to identify the number of parties we have in Nigeria. And to every election they want to have, they prepare according to what the parties will pay. Today, government finances INEC. Ideally, it was the party that needed INEC that's supposed to be paying the necessary due for the INEC. There should be annual due, there should be electoral due, there should be some other dues that could be given this INEC money, so that they will not be solely dependent on the government or allocation that will come from them. If parties are paying to be registered, and if parties are paying at every time they have elections, it will throw away the burden of the government to the parties. But the question is, who owns the parties? Virtually, sometimes I have seen, and I start to be corrected, whereby government of the day will sponsor party against their own party, just to ensure that they are not alone in the party, that they are not alone in the election. I have seen many. We have seen it.
The game is the game.
The game is the game. They know. We all know. A governor will finance other parties to be part of the electoral process, election, so that it will make it meaningful. And know that 10 parties contested, but one eventually won. Whereas it's an in-house arrangement. The truth of the matter is that for INEC to reduce their burden from the government, they should encourage other means of getting money, other means of ensuring that money comes to the coffer of the INEC. And how do you do that? Get the parties involved, get every contestant involved. Once they pay from the payment they make, then it will adjust some other thing. And the last one, going outside Nigeria to print ballot papers is not too good for Nigeria. A time we have so many mints. Even if by today, if you have mint company in Nigeria, either by government that they can be printing our money, that they can be printing our ballot papers, it's not too bad. It's not a bad idea. Today we print money outside Nigeria, we print ballot papers outside Nigeria. What are we going to print here? Why do we do that? Because we believe that if we print it here, it can be duplicated, it can be manipulated. But today, because do you know how much it will cost us to go and bring these materials from abroad to Nigeria? So this is why we must allow things to be. And one of the ways is that let us put our resources together and ensure the INEC do not depend solely on the government. They should have other means of making money for themselves. And one of it is through kind of payment from the parties I submit.
Thanks so much, sir, for the discussion. Really appreciate it. It's been a very productive discussion, actually. And yeah, thanks for being a part of this. I hope we learned a lot from all this and all that. Yeah. Tomorrow is another day on Daybreak Africa. So we'll meet next time. My name is Ikhonede Joshua, your DJ.
And my name is Esrom. Do have a blessed day.
Bye.
Bye.